What's holding you back from investing in real estate? Some people would say, well, it's because I don't have the money. Okay, true. However, what's beautiful about real estate investing is that you can use other people's money to a large degree. There's the traditional type of mortgage loans, there are commercial loans, there's money from private investors, there's hard money, even owner financing if you can negotiate with the seller of a property to help fund your acquisition. There are other ways to borrow money too. Some people even use credit cards, cash advances, and alternative types of loans. Today I want to talk about the fears that some people have that keep them from investing in real estate. I actually want to break it down to make it simpler for you. Investing in real estate is simple. It may not be easy, yet it is simple. So let's get into it. I've been a real estate investor for 2 decades, and in that time, hundreds of people have come to me saying, I get involved in real estate, but there's this reason and that reason. Some people say, well, I don't have the money. Some people say, well, I don't know any contractors. Others say, well, I would be a terrible landlord. Others say, I've heard tenants are the worst. Other people have said, well, you can't get a good deal anymore. I've heard so many reasons, and I want to help you overcome any doubts so you can get into this wonderful, safe type of investment known as real estate. First off, begin with the end in mind. Why do you want to invest in real estate? Do you want to have passive income that more than covers your lifestyle expenses? In that case, you'd be out of the rat race. You wouldn't have to work for money. Your money would work for you. Do you enjoy renovating properties and maybe want to improve homes, and so therefore you would be a house flipper? Are you looking to work together with a team of people to invest in a syndicate, or perhaps build your own team to acquire deals and decide how best to monetize the deals that you've found? Do you like to be a treasure hunter and go off the beaten path to find unloved properties? Let's talk about why you want to be involved in real estate. And the answer is specific to you. It's unique to every person. I got into real estate investing because I wanted to build generational wealth and have steady monthly positive cash flow. And it took a while, yet today my wife Amira and I live a life by design, not by default. We work when we want to. And we are blessed to have tenants who pay their rent on time and help pay down our mortgages on the properties that have mortgage loans. We provide quality, safe housing for our tenants, and in exchange, they go to work and a portion of the money they earn goes to us. So why do you want to get involved in real estate investing? If you're looking to get rich quick, this is probably not the way to do it, although there are many ways to build tremendous wealth over time. So a lot of people say, hey, Ty, I don't want to get involved just yet because I don't have the money. So let's delve deeper into that. What money do you have? What money could you get? And who could you partner with? I'll give you some examples. A great way to get started in real estate investing is to get a government-backed loan, like a Federal Housing Administration loan, to buy your own home. You only have to put 3.5% down, and you can even have that 3.5% down payment gifted to you. And with an FHA loan, you are allowed to buy a single-family home or perhaps even a 2 to 4 family multi-unit property. I got started investing with residential properties by buying a fixer-upper duplex. I lived in one and rented the other, and I fixed them both up over time. The government-backed loans are great because you can live in it for a year and then rent the unit that you're in and move on to the next deal. If you are a military veteran or an active duty person in the military, you can get a VA loan. And those are no money down loans, and you can use it to buy a 1 to 4 family property. If you are buying a home in a rural area, you might have the opportunity to use a USDA, a U.S. Department of Agricultural loan, and that also is no money down, and you can use that to buy a single family home. And just like with the FHA loan, you can live in this property for at least a year, and then if an opportunity arises, you can move out, get the next deal, and rent out the property that you bought using that loan. So there is a lot of money out there. Even if you are not eligible for an FHA or VA or USDA loan, what could you be eligible for? How much down money would you need? The first step is to talk to a mortgage loan originator, whether it's a loan officer at your bank or perhaps a mortgage broker. Have them pull your credit and have them advise you on what loan products are available. And if your credit or your savings or your income is not where it needs to be, find out specifically where you need to get it, those things, so you can qualify for a loan. It may take 6 months or a year or a couple of years to pay down some debt, build up savings, or do something with your credit score to get it to where it needs to be. Listen, if you can borrow money from a bank, that's oftentimes the least expensive type of money. So, first, you take stock of your financial picture. Can you borrow money? How much? At what interest rate? And what will the costs be? If you can't borrow money right now, where could you in the near future? Is it through a hard money loan or a private lender? Also, if you need to get your financial house in order, specifically, what do you need to do and how fast can you do it? Next up, we're going to talk about finding the deal. As I mentioned, money chases deals. So some people say, well, you can't find a good deal today because housing prices are so high. That's not true. It may be a little more work in some regards, but listen, the population is growing. There are areas in America that are growing rapidly, and there are places where there are deals. There can even be deals in places that have a stagnant or declining population. So first off, decide where are you going to focus. How do you find a deal? Well, you're going to need to look daily for deals. I recommend in my book, How to Become a Wealthy Real Estate Investor, that you should spend at least 10 minutes a day looking for a deal. Exercise those treasure hunting muscles so you can find opportunities. Deal flow matters. The more potential opportunities you're evaluating, the more likely deals will come across your table. Also, the more deals you do, the more people will find you. My wife, Amira, and I have gotten deals because other people's out there come to us. They know that we are in the market. And when we say we're going to buy something, we actually do. So you want to constantly look for deals. How do you do that? Well, check out some of my other videos on my YouTube page, the Invest and Transform YouTube page, to learn how to look for better deals. But the thing is that you will need to have a great realtor on your team. You could even have more than one realtor on your team. You just would have non-exclusive relationships with them versus an exclusive relationship with just one realtor. You will need to tap into local investor groups. Check out whatever landlord and flipper and other real estate investor groups there are near you. Go attend at least one. If the group is the right fit, check it out, because there will be investors there who are looking to sell some of their properties. There will also be wholesalers there who have a potential deal that you could consider. Wholesalers oftentimes are looking for a cash buyer. But again, if you have the capital or if you have a business partner who provides the cash, then there could be an opportunity. You also want to tell lots of people around you, your coworkers, your neighbors, your friends, your family, that you're in the market for a real estate investment property. So looking for deals is something that you have to do on a daily basis. You can also check out foreclosure websites, check out the local foreclosure auctions in your county, get familiar with how those are handled, look at the potential tax sales in your area. That's when somebody doesn't pay their property taxes. Now, that can also be a tough place because auctions can be happening very fast and it's hard to keep up with what's going on. I like to look for deals on the multiple listing service and by talking with other real estate investors. That's where I find the majority of my deals. Years ago, I used to send out up to 2,000 letters a month to people facing foreclosure, and I would go to foreclosure auctions and even regular auctions, estate sales, and things like that. Today, I lean toward looking for properties that are listed, as well as properties that may be off market, owned by fellow real estate investors. Now that you've delved deeper into looking for deals, the next step is to decide, what is it that you want? Do you want to own rental properties? Do you want to flip houses? Do you want to be a wholesaler where you don't even take title to the properties, you're just putting them under contract and then selling the rights to the contract to someone else? What do you want to do? Are you looking to create wealth and cash flow? That's a landlord. Or are you looking to create cash? That's a wholesaler or a flipper. Another common question people ask me is, okay, Ty, what kind of property do I buy? Do I buy a single family home? Do I buy a commercial property? Do I buy a 2 to 4 family residential property? What do I do? So if you're a house flipper, generally you're buying a detached single family home, although you could buy a twin home or a row house. It depends on what you're trying to do in the neighborhood that you're buying in. If you're a landlord, well, it depends on what you want. You can buy a single family home. The financing for a single family home usually is cheaper. In many cases, if you're putting money down, you can put only 15 to 20% down for a non-owner occupied property. Or as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to live in the property for at least a year, in some cases you can put down no money. In other cases, it's 3% or 3.5%. Depends on the type of the loan. There are landlords I know who swear that the strategy you got to follow is to buy a bunch of single family homes. My wife Amira and I like that. There are benefits to owning a number of single family homes. One is that you may have tenants stay longer because they're not going to be disturbed by the noisy upstairs tenant. They also take on more of the expenses. For example, the lawn maintenance, the snow shoveling, the utilities. And also, single-family homes generally can be easier to resell because if you need to sell, you might be able to sell it to a move-in home buyer. That being said, there are landlords I know, and I actually started out this way, who swore that the best strategy is to buy multi-unit properties. Why? Well, you have one roof, not many roofs. You have one heating system, or if you have to send a repairman over to the property, he or she can deal with multiple units at once instead of driving all over town to go from this property to that property. Multi-units have higher density. You can generally collect more rent per square foot. So there are people who say, listen, you got to buy lots of multi-unit properties. And then out of that camp, some say only buy 2 to 4 family properties, whereas others say, no, buy 10 unit, 20 unit properties. It depends on what you want. There are situations with large multi-unit properties where you could have one noisy or disgusting tenant who makes it difficult for the other tenants there, and you may have a problem with vacancy or things like that. So you pick what you want to deal with. There are investors I know who have a healthy mix of everything. They have single family homes, multi-unit residential properties, mixed-use properties where there's a commercial unit on the first floor and residential units above, and then also perhaps pure commercial properties. So think about what you want. I do know that if you're starting out, financing tends to be cheaper and easier if you're buying a 1 to 4 family residential property. Next up is if you are a flipper, what do you want to flip? As mentioned, single family homes can be easier for novice flippers to deal with. There's a large pool of buyers who want a detached single family home, and you might as well cater to that pool of potential buyers by buying single family homes or perhaps townhomes. If you want to flip multi-unit properties, there are people who do that. There are investors who come in and they may find that there's a property with deferred maintenance and rents that haven't been raised in years, and maybe even tenants who are living there and not paying the rent anymore. So if you can move out the bad tenants, improve the properties, bring in better tenants at higher rents, you can improve the property, and after a certain period of time, you can sell the property for a substantial profit, because there are investors who don't want to have to deal with all the turnover and repairs. They just want a move-in ready, fixed up multi-unit property. The next question commonly asked by novice investors is, what kind of fixer-upper should I buy, or should I go with a move-in ready property? Well, it depends. I know novice investors and experienced investors, particularly out-of-state investors perhaps, who want to only buy move-in ready, renovated homes. They are landlords. They don't want to have to try to fix anything up from a distance. They don't have a local network well developed, and so they just want to buy something that's rent ready. There are also investors who say, no, I would never buy a move-in ready house because I'm competing with all the home buyers out there and I'm going to pay a pretty penny. How can you get a discount on a property when lots of people want it? True, in many cases. So there are investors who say, I'm going to buy a fixer-upper. And some investors say, I'm going to buy a complete wreck, a shell of a home, because that's the cheapest I can get it. And then I can put all new stuff in and I won't have any maintenance costs for the foreseeable future after I put all this new stuff in. That's true. There are investors who say, no, I don't want to get caught in a major project. I want to buy a property that in 4 weeks is ready to go so I can rent it out. My wife Amir and I tend to buy properties that are moderate to light renovation projects. We want to be rent ready within 6 weeks or less after purchasing the property. I do not like long periods of vacancy. So we tend not to buy complete gut jobs or shells or things like that. I prefer having something that requires paint and carpet, maybe new appliances, maybe new windows, something that I can have rented in a short period of time. We have been very fortunate with that because we oftentimes are able to still find significant discounts on properties from their fair market value, and we are still able to turn around and rent them very quickly. So decide what it is that you want. One factor is, will you do the work yourself or will you hire contractors? If you're going to hire contractors, do you have good relationships with contractors yet? My recommendation for a novice investor is to do a light or moderate renovation. Don't get involved yet in major renovation projects. Build out your contractor network, know what your capabilities are with fixing things yourself, and be able to turn around a simple project quickly. I have known some novice investors who bought complete renovation, gut job type of properties, and they have spent years, yes, years, fixing them up themselves. Don't do that. The longer you have a property sit vacant, the more money it'll cost you, whether you're flipping the house or choosing to rent it out. Get something that you can turn around quickly. If you are going to do the work, make sure that you're not doing it every once in a while. You have to be serious about being able to do the work yourself. Listen, here's the trade-off. If you are going to try to do your work yourself, but you're only going to work on the property when you have a little bit of free time this weekend here and that weekend there, consider hiring a contractor instead. Because if you just have the property sit vacant, it's going to deteriorate. And even though you may be saving money on labor, you are not saving money on insurance and taxes and other maintenance costs from deterioration. So do the math, decide what it is you're capable of, and pick the type of property that is best for you. Consider getting something that can be turned around quickly. Another question that novice landlords ask me is, well, should I manage the property myself or should I hire a property manager? It depends. There are people I know who say, hey, Ty, I don't have the time to deal with tenants. Others say, I don't have the patience or temperament to potentially deal with tenants. If you don't have the time or perhaps the patience and temperament, then it's simple. Hire a property manager. A good property manager is going to make sure that they bring in more money than the cost of their fee. For example, let's say that a property manager charges the first month's rent to place a tenant, and they charge 10% of the monthly gross collected rent thereafter. Well, if they're really good, first off, they will reduce the level of vacancy that you have. So if you have fewer days where you're not collecting rent at all, they will also bring in quality tenants who are more likely to keep paying the rent and less likely to leave. So when you have less vacancy and very little turnover, you get more money. Furthermore, a good property manager will get you higher rents typically. They're able to know the market and charge market rents. They may even do things like encourage you to put coin-op type laundry machines on the site, or other things like charge for the garage that's in the backyard, or things like that. You can get more rent when you hire a professional, and that justifies the expense that they have. Plus, they bring you peace of mind. Wouldn't it be nice if your rental property is just bringing you money month after month like clockwork, and you just have to talk with your property manager for maybe 5 to 10 minutes a month? That would be really cool. Now, if you feel that you want to manage tenants yourself, you can. My wife Amira and I have done that as well. We've had property managers. We've also managed properties ourselves. You can save money, and you can actually learn a lot of things, and it's a great way to enhance your income with this wonderful side hustle. So you can establish procedures on how to attract the right people who are qualified, how to vet them, and then how to put them into the properties with a solid lease, and then also be able to keep them there a long time. If you're good at property management, you'll periodically raise the rents. You don't have to raise rent every year, but there is inflation you have to deal with. Plus, you have to bring in enough money to set aside some money for future capital improvements, like a new water heater or a new roof. So make sure that you are increasing rents much of the time. A common question asked me by novice house flippers is, hey Ty, when I go to sell the property, should I sell it for sale by owner, or list with a realtor, or hire an auctioneer and have an auction? Well, it depends. There are pros and cons to each technique, and I have done each of those at various points in my career. You can sell for sale by owner. You get the save on realty commission. However, there are potential problems that can come up. A lot of potential buyers who go after for sale by owner homes may be unqualified buyers. They don't actually have the money to buy, or they may be looking for some type of lease purchase or owner finance deal. There are also many potentially qualified buyers who want to chisel you down and get it for a super low price. And you may end up wasting a lot of time showing the house to a lot of people who can't buy, or who, if they could buy, will only pay a super low price because they don't see the value, or they want a deal, and that's why they eschew realtors and go straight for sale by owners. When you list with a qualified, reputable realtor in your area, typically they'll get you more money than you would have gotten if trying to sell on your own. And they'll even get you more money than what the cost of their commission is. They are able to list on the multiple listing service, attract lots of buyers at the same time, and they filter out the looky-loos and unqualified people, and they only bring you offers from well-qualified buyers who truly see the value and want the home. Also, a great realtor has a network of people, and they can help bring you people who are great at doing the title, great at minor fixes, great at inspections and things like that. So you want to have the value of a realtor if you're trying to sell. Also, the realtor will take care of a lot of the things, so you don't have to. And an auctioneer is a potentially valuable person. I have sold some properties via auction before. It's kind of cool because you know what day the house is going to sell. The challenges with auctions are that buyers with mortgages may not bid, and you may attract mostly cash buyers who are looking for a deal. Also, there are issues with a buyer who does have a mortgage. There might be an issue with the appraisal, being able to close quickly, or being able to put down enough money for the deposit, as auctioneers tend to expect a larger non-refundable deposit in many cases. And some buyers may be reluctant to bid on a property because there's no inspection contingency, and they may not want to get stuck with a lemon, or what they fear to be a lemon. So you want to consider which technique to go with. My recommendation is, if you're starting out, list with a realtor. If you have a property that's a major fixer-upper, list with a realtor. A common question is, hey, Ty, should I buy in my own name or should I buy with an LLC or some other entity? It depends. There are some people who say you should only buy with an entity like a limited liability company. There are others who say you should buy in your own name. There are others who say, no, you start off buying in your own name and then later on buy in LLCs. First off, this is a multifaceted type of question, and you should consult your legal counsel and also consult your accountant and your insurance agent. You see, when you buy in your own name, financing tends to be cheaper. My wife Amir and I started out by buying properties in our own name because there are Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac products out there that allow you to buy with 15 to 20% down, or we would do cash out refinances. We would buy properties in cash and then do a 75% loan to value cash out refinance later. And we would get 30-year fixed mortgages at super low interest rates. You are allowed to get up to 10 Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan products that way. So the cheapest money, in our opinion, is through government-backed loans, and you have to buy in your own name to be eligible for those loans. One strategy could be that the first 10 properties you buy are in your own name, and then you create entities for properties after that. There are others who say, no, buy property using an LLC from the get-go. You have maximum liability protection. And if you are buying commercial properties, well, and you need a commercial loan, you might as well create an LLC. Because you want to protect your against liability. Now, what Amir and I have done with properties bought in our own name is that we got an umbrella policy from our insurance agent, and we've also gotten legal insurance through Legal Shield. So we've had enhanced protection even though we've owned some properties in our own name. With an LLC, you are going to pay more for loans. Since it's a commercial loan, you're going to have a higher interest rate, and likely you'll have a balloon after 5 or 7 or 10 years. And that means that you're going to have to refinance or pay off the loan in a shorter period of time. And you don't know where interest rates will be 5, 7, or 10 years from now. I like the security of having a fixed 30-year mortgage from a government-backed loan. Also, people have asked me related to that, if I create an LLC, how many properties should I have in that? It depends. Again, talk to your attorney, your accountant, and your insurance agent, preferably at the same time or in the same conversation, because it depends on your personal situation. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant. So it's hard for me to advise you because I don't know your whole picture. What I will say is that for my situation, we would increase our insurance deductible in many cases because we had cash reserves, and that would lower our insurance costs. And our accountant said, sure, you can create lots of LLCs, but each LLC has to have its own tax return, and that can add up over time. Also, in the state that I'm in, there's no state personal income tax, but there is a 6.5% tax for income from an LLC. So we had to factor that in. What is the trade-off we want to have? How do we enhance our liability protection, but also reduce our taxes and the cost of having multiple tax returns? So you've got to evaluate those things. I know if you ask a lawyer if you should get an LLC, the answer is more likely than not to be yes. My very first lawyer said, Ty, don't ever ask a lawyer if you need a lawyer because the answer will always be yes. My first accountant said, Ty, you really ought to have more than one property in an LLC because there's just too many darn tax returns and I got to charge you for every tax return I file. And my first insurance agent, of course, when I said, hey, what should I do? They said, get maximum insurance to protect yourself. Well, later on, I learned that maybe what I ought to do is have a conversation with my lawyer, my accountant, and my insurance agent on the same email chain or in the same phone conversation. I recommend you do that. At least have an annual discussion and an annual insurance review with your advisors. Another common question asked of me is, okay, Ty, I'm going to use a realtor. Should I sign an exclusive deal with just one realtor in my area, or should I have lots of realtors working for me? Well, I would recommend that if you're a new investor, have an exclusive relationship with an investor-minded realtor. Find a realtor who either has investment properties themselves or works with investors. Someone who is going to understand the calculations, the numbers, and what constitutes a great deal. When you sign an exclusive relationship, what that means is that they're your one realtor. They are working for you, and they are representing you in any transaction during the period of your exclusive buyer agency contract. When they know that you are their client and they are working exclusively for you, they're going to put in a lot of effort to help you, and you're going to get a lot more in return in terms of value because you'll have access to their network. Now, experienced investors oftentimes will have non-exclusive relationships with several realtors. In other words, they may say, okay, I'm looking at different market areas and I have needs in these different market areas. So they might have one realtor who helps them list and sell a property over here. They might have another realtor who helps them find a deal over there. And the way it works with non-exclusive is that if a realtor finds you a deal, then they're your realtor for that deal. But if a realtor over here finds you a deal, the first realtor doesn't have any claim to that other deal because they didn't find it for you. And with a listing, the realtor lists the property for sale, but you can have an agency type of contract with them where if you find a buyer that perhaps you don't have to pay a commission to that realtor, but talk with the realtor up front about that. When you're selling a property with the realtor, there are such things as exclusions. Like, let's say that while you were renovating the property, a neighbor came up to you and said, well, I might want to buy it. Well, when you're about to list the property, talk to your realtor and say, hey, listen, if this particular person makes an offer within the first 5 days, I'd like to have them be an exclusion. Perhaps the realtor will not be involved and not charge you commission, or perhaps the realtor will be willing to be involved at a lower commission for that particular buyer as long as they make an offer within, let's say, the first few days of the listing. There's also such a thing as exclusive agency. That means that a realtor lists your property for sale, but if you find the buyer, then you don't necessarily have to pay the realtor a commission. But remember that the realtor brings more value than just the marketing. You do want to have them represent you in negotiations, and also they may know things about the area that you don't, and they can protect you. The definition of a client is someone who is under the protection of a professional. And what's the point in hiring a realtor if you're not going to have them protect you, or if you're going to try to find a way for them not to protect you? Another common question asked by landlords is, Ty, should I do the BRRRR method or should I buy in a traditional way where I put money down and get a mortgage loan? I have videos on the BRRRR method that stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. That's where you buy a fixer-upper property in cash, get it fixed up fast, rent it out, and 6 months later, you can do a cash out refinance. Check out my videos on the BRRRR method. My wife, Amira, and I have done that a lot. With the BRRRR method, you can recycle the same cash to buy multiple properties. It's really cool. So in other words, you could buy 2 properties a year with the same cash. Imagine where you'll be after 5 years. You could have bought 10 properties potentially with the same starting capital. Other investors may buy the traditional way, which is where they put 15 or 20 or 25% down and they buy a property. That gets you to buy properties sooner because you don't have to save up all the cash you need for the deal. One challenge, though, is that lenders may have requirements about the type of property you can buy. A lender might be very uncomfortable with you buying a major fixer-upper. So you might have to limit yourself to buying only mild fixer-uppers or move-in ready homes, and now you're competing with lots of move-in home buyers who are willing to pay top dollar for properties. So if you are going to put 15% or 20% or 25% down to buy a property, know that you are more limited in what you can buy. And you're going to be competing with people. And your money may be trapped in the deal for a time. Now, I've bought properties by putting 15% down or 20% down before. The challenge is that, unlike the Burr method, you put money down and you're stuck in the deal. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say that you had $200,000 in cash to start with. One type of investor might say, well, I'm going to put 20% down and buy up to five $200,000 homes. So 20% down on a $200,000 home is $40,000. So that investor with the $200,000 in starting capital can only buy 5 properties, and now that's it. They are stuck in the deal with each property. If they try to do a 75% loan to value cash out refinance, well, they really wouldn't be getting much, if any, cash back. Whereas the investor with $200,000 who chooses to buy a fixer-upper in cash can recycle that money and potentially 6 months after buying a fixer-upper get the $200,000 back. How? They might buy a property for $150 grand because it's a fixer-upper, put 50 grand into it, that's $200,000 total, and it's now worth 6 months later $300,000. So 75% loan to value is $225,000 loan. So they're taking out a loan. They're getting back their original 200 grand plus $25,000 in surplus capital. So they can take that $225,000 and go buy the next property and the next property. Just keep repeating the process. Over time, the investor who does the Burr method can buy an unlimited number of properties. Whereas the one who is putting money down may have to wait until they earn enough new capital to buy the next property. Another common question is, should I buy close to home or far away in an area where real estate prices are much lower? There's a lot to unpack with that. First off, in general, I recommend new investors should start close to home, maybe within a 30-minute drive or so. Why? Because you probably already are familiar with the market in your area. You may have existing relationships with contractors and realtors, attorneys, and other people who may be helpful with the purchase and sale of properties. In addition, it's not hard to drive by a property and check on the contractors who are doing work there, or perhaps keep an eye on the tenants. Are they maintaining the property well, and so on. It's just easier when a property is close to you. Now, there are people who live in an area where real estate prices are just out of reach or more than you can afford. So perhaps considering a purchase in another area where homes are cheaper, that could work in your favor. However, you are going to have to deal with operating remotely. I have purchased and managed properties far away, but I've also purchased close to home. When you are buying properties far away, you really have to have a good network developed. It starts with a great realtor and a great contractor, and then you build out from there. The people you work with have to do more than the minimum and understand your needs and help you out. Also, if you are renting properties far away, then you need a good local licensed property manager for sure. People have also asked me, hey, should I, as a landlord, do a traditional 1-year lease, or should I furnish the place and do short-term vacation rentals? It depends. There's a market for both. Some areas may have a very strong market for short-term rentals, although that involves high turnover. You need great maintenance people and house cleaners, as well as be able to manage all the different bookings through the different sites that are out there. And so you can make a lot of money, yet there's also a lot of additional costs. There are places where you can buy a property and a property manager may handle everything for a 20% or more fee, and that could work, although in vacation areas you might be paying a pretty penny to buy the real estate. There are investors who are cash flow negative on vacation rentals in the short term and perhaps even the medium term. You could even do short-term rentals in areas that are not traditionally filled with tourists. There's always a need for people to come and stay for a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a few months. You do have to keep in mind that if you're going to furnish a rental, there are higher costs, and those costs cannot be built into your mortgage when you buy a property. Usually you have to fund the purchase of the furniture. It can be lucrative though. I know investors who do furnished rentals for the short term, maybe a few days. I also know investors who do midterm rentals. That's about a 6-month rental period, less than a year. And then there are the traditional landlords who have 1-year leases. You could also do commercial rentals, local or from afar. Let's say you're a new investor and you don't want to partner with anybody. You don't have a lot of money to put down. You are conservative in your approach, yet you're patient. Well, here's a strategy that you could use. There are people who do what I call slow flips of their primary residence. You see, you can get a low money down loan with a super low interest rate if you're buying your own single family home. And what you do is you try to buy a modest fixer-upper. You move in and you stay there at least 2 years. And you fix up that home while you live there. And you see the tax code is very advantageous for homeowners who are selling their primary residence. The IRS allows anybody who's lived in a home as their primary residence for 2 out of the last 5 years to sell and not have to pay any capital gains on the first $250,000 in profit if you're single, or up on the first $500,000 in profit if you're married filing jointly. So for example, let's say that you bought a fixer-upper home for $300,000 and you lived there for 2 years. And you spent $50,000 over those 2 years fixing it up. So you're into it for $350,000, but you are able to sell it 2 years later for $450,000. That $100,000 capital gain, the profit, is entirely tax-free. So what some people do is they will buy that fixer-upper, live in it for 2 years, then sell it and go buy the next fixer-upper, and they keep repeating the process, and that all of their profit is tax-free. Another strategy you can do is this. I recommend that whatever home that you choose as your primary residence, if you're looking to build up a portfolio, is that you only buy homes that you can rent out one day. So instead of spending a lot of money on some opulent palace, you buy homes that would make great rentals in the future. You live there for 1 or 2, 3 or 4 years, and when you do move out, you keep the property and rent it out. You can build up a collection of former homes over time. Here's a strategy too for those of you who are in the military. You can become an asset millionaire in your 20 years of service by using just the VA loan, the no money down loan. You see, if you're in the military, you are moved from permanent duty station to permanent duty station over time. So you can buy a home at your first permanent duty station, then 2 or 3 years later, you use the VA loan to buy the home of the next permanent duty station, and you just keep each home, and you just hire a local property manager to rent it out. And after 20 years in service, you could have acquired, let's say, 5 homes, and they would have appreciated in value. You'd be collecting a lot of rent. By the time you got out of the military, not only would you have a great retirement plan, you would have a number of cash flowing properties. Go to my website, investandtransform.com, for lots of free tips on how to build wealth through real estate. I'm Ty Desa. I am passionate about investing and sharing with you tips, most of them learned through colossal mistakes I've made. I want you to avoid making the same mistakes that I did. I want you to build wealth, generational wealth, through real estate. Also, check out my book, How to Become a Wealthy Real Estate Investor, 101 Things You Need to Know Right Now. It's available on Amazon.com or through my website. Make it a great day. Oh, and also, click the button below to subscribe. I put out new videos all the time.